What's up, guys and gals? This training will be about getting the invite. Getting the invite. When I say getting the invite, it really is exactly what I mean. You want to be invited into the areas that you're working, and your lead gen efforts need to be bigger and broader than simply getting a lead and getting an appointment. You need to think bigger than that. If you want to think about how can I go from whatever number of sales you're at a month now to more, you can't be thinking at this individual transactional level. You need to expand how you're even considering what and why you're doing it. Everything. I just was having a conversation with a private equity advisor, and they were saying in private equity, they will spend a ton of money to acquire a customer if they know that that customer repeatedly will allow them to get more customers. So they may spend what seems like a crazy amount of money to get into a neighborhood, because once they're in that neighborhood, they have the opportunity to get the neighbors. They have the opportunity to get referrals, and they're cutting that cost, whether it's money or in some of our cases, will just time and effort. They're able to cut that cost because that large amount of effort or that large amount of money was able to be cut with new opportunities and new jobs. And they're not thinking about their next job. They're not in this job by job mentality. And I encourage you to take some time to get out of that. Even if you need sales desperately, even if you are job by job right now, part of the reason you might be job by job is because you're obsessing about each interaction and it becomes very transactional. And we need to be thinking a lot broader. We need to take the pressure off the individual sale and put the pressure on the opportunity as a whole, and look at the opportunity as the neighborhood instead of just that one house that you got called out to. So getting the invite, it's so important. So important, guys. Do y'all recognize this man? This is Danny DeVito in Matilda. I don't know if you guys seen this movie, but it's very funny. It's old movie or older, and Danny DeVito's character is the classic used car salesman. And one of the big things that he shows is they're gluing a bumper on, and they said, oh, it doesn't need to last. It just needs to last long enough for this person to buy. And that's all over the place in Hollywood and TV shows, is this stereotype, this used car salesman stereotype. And the thing is, a lot of salespeople, while this is a very extreme, cartoonish almost version of it, just for a movie, people kind of live up to this stereotype. A lot of people are like, I don't care what people think of me. I'm just trying to make some sales. It's like, no, you should care what people think about you. And I know that sounds maybe contradictory to what a lot of people said, but if you're a salesperson, you're in a person-to-person business. It's all about connection. And people don't like being sold to. They don't. Most people don't. And it's how Hollywood's portrayed sales for years. And a lot of people are just sitting there like, I want to go sell. And one of the things I just said a second ago was, we need to try to stop being so transactional. And if you're able to expand the way you're thinking about things, putting less pressure on this individual sale, but more focus on, hey, I'm in this area. There's a ton of opportunity in this area. And I don't need to be obsessed with this one person closing, or I don't need to be obsessed with a timeline of them closing, because me just being here is an opportunity that can lead to tens of thousands for you in commission if you're a salesperson, hundreds of thousands in sales for the company. And if you can get into that headspace and you can think of every invitation into an area as that, you're going to be able to go further. And you really will benefit from working hard to stop being so tied to the individual sale. In sales, there's something called the doctor frame, and it's basically thinking it is illegal, it is malpractice for me to misdiagnose someone for my own personal gain. So I will listen. I will get the information I need so that I can make a proper diagnosis, so that I don't get in trouble, but also because I want to do what's best for the client. And I have on my computer right here a sticky note. It's actually a check, but it's the three rules of sales. Do what's best for the client. What's best is outside their comfort zone, and they're going to fight to stay in their comfort zone. And that doesn't mean you have to fight with them, but it does mean that we need to create as many opportunities and just understand there's a lot of pressure, but it needs to be internal pressure and not external. This picture of Danny DeVito, he is putting external pressure on people. He is the one applying pressure to make the decision for them to buy the car or the particular car. What we want to do is create situations where they're feeling the internal pressure that will allow them to make the decision. And you need to remember that what's best for them is not you just applying all this pressure. It's you understanding that things will happen as they happen. You want to provide the information that they request and that they need, not information that they don't think they need or don't want. And you need to remember and respect that this is a hard decision for them. And if you can get less tied to the sale, but more tied to diagnosing properly, and then realizing and remembering how much opportunity there is now that you are just even on this street and there's neighbors, and you can say, I just spoke with Susie, I just spoke with John, and you're able to use all of these together. Eventually, one of the big ways that internal pressure can build is their neighbors, that they see yard signs popping up. I just had a client who said, I spent a lot of money on Facebook ads. For some reason, I never closed the actual deal that the Facebook ad generated, but I almost always got a neighbor. He's like, so I don't know, were the Facebook ads working? I was like, yes, absolutely they were working. So we need to remember it's about the opportunity and about the invite. The invite is what we are looking for. It is not the sale. The sale will be an outcome of handling things properly, doing what's right. Because if they know enough to invite you and then you can properly display to them what needs to be done, then they're probably going to make the right decision as long as you can let them and allow them the space to. And we want to do that. And we also want to use the opportunity of the invitation to talk to more people and create more invitations. So here's what I really wanted you to be careful of. In the roofing industry, most people have seen the screenshots or maybe have just run across the no soliciting sign. Does no soliciting mean they don't need or want their home to be safe? No. It means they don't want to be sold to. They don't want their day to be interrupted and have someone just rambling about a new roof and what that means. I want to show you what happens when there's a post about no soliciting in the roofing industry. And here's an example. Oh, I should have cut that name out. But this person said, what do you guys do when it's a no soliciting area? There were 276 comments, and almost everyone was knock the door, take it as a challenge, make a joke, and basically sell them anyways. They said they don't want it, but who cares? This person felt like they were making some great response talked about, they're not even grown men. Like he's trying. It's like, for your question, I make it a point to knock the no soliciting. A couple of reasons. Am I skilled enough to get the homeowner to trust when their door clearly says they don't want? If I can gain that trust, I can position myself as a service provider instead of trying to sell them. I can get them to agree. Like, this whole thing, don't pay attention to the ones that are acting like children. This is probably one of the better comments, but still, he's saying, oh, yeah, if I see a no soliciting sign, I almost always knock on it. And guys and gals, it's ridiculous. You don't want to perpetuate that idea that salespeople are just in it for themselves. This guy's talking about how he wants to show them that he's providing a service and not just selling them, allow them to trust. He's close, but still, we want to make sure that we are careful on our reputation. We want to be invited, not directly the opposite. You know, in almost every 90s movie, here, I'm going to fix my head. Almost every 90s comedy movie, and there's a scene with the dinner guest who is acting inappropriate, who really wasn't invited and has no idea that they are acting weird. This is one of my favorites. In Meet the Fockers, when he's like, yeah, you could milk a cat. Hilarious. But this is something that you'll see on repeat in comedy movies, because when there's uninvited behavior or awkward behavior, everyone feels uncomfortable, and a lot of the time the person actually doing it doesn't even realize. And don't be this guy. He's obviously, in this movie particularly, he's the one who kind of was getting it rough. But the point is, like, you got to be careful. You don't want to be the guy that is uninvited or doing uninvited behavior. It's the opposite of the relationship that we're trying to build. Don't be that guy or girl. Instead, work to get invited. Create opportunities to get the invitation. So get invited into the neighborhood, get invited to inspect the roof, and be a pleasant presence in the neighborhood. The welcome mat is for those people, not people who knock on their door when they're told not to. So make sure this is the attitude that you have as you're navigating the neighborhoods that you're in. And it doesn't mean that you can't start conversations. It doesn't mean that you can't put a flyer up. What we want to do is try to create as many opportunities for them to make the decision to invite you. Just like a Facebook ad, whether you know much about Facebook or not, you're putting yourself out there and invite, and then people will, maybe, if they choose to, fill out their name and info, and then you can reach out to them, and that's fair game. You're not in their inbox saying, hey, I can sell you 20 leads. Hey, can you handle more roof replacements? Those are uninvited. That's soliciting. Instead, you can have a situation where people are coming to you, and that's what we want to create. That's what we need to create in order to really have the growth that we want. And it doesn't mean that you don't knock doors. It doesn't mean that those things are just out the window. They really aren't. It means that you need to just have the right attitude, because if you can handle these conversations with the homeowners properly, then the dynamics will be completely different than if they feel like you're just there to sell them something. So this is really what we want to do. We want to create opportunities to get invited into the neighborhood. We want to create opportunities for the neighbors to invite you to inspect their roof. And we want to create opportunities for your clients' networks to invite you to inspect their roof and then repeat. And this is how we're able to create some very, very good growth within your business. So let's talk about the first one. Creating opportunities to be invited into a neighborhood. This is really going to come from your ability to generate leads. We'll cover more strategies, of course, in this training, or in this course rather, not this particular video, but that's going to be on social media, on just your general ability to be social and communicate and talk and make sure people know what you do, company generated leads. There's more. I mean, even going to get into a new neighborhood, you're able to go generating referrals, trying to use an old customer that you've already worked with as a reason to be there. In general, we want to just think about this as we want to have an invite. So if someone's like, hey, is your name on the list? You always want to be able to say yes. You want to belong there. And if they know that you belong there, then their guard is down, especially if you don't get into the party, you get the invite, and then you're telling everyone about a new party. That will be frustrating. Instead, you want to get to the party and play it cool. And that's what we need to do. So some of the ways that we'll talk about later is social media, just being social, making connections with people, company generated leads, and some more. But in general, this is one of the big pieces of like having a baseline. So what is your baseline? How many jobs are you able to generate on your own? Right now, maybe it is one a week. And that's okay, actually. Like that is a fine starting point. Maybe it's less. Still a fine starting point. We've had people start from zero and been able to really, really build an amazing pipeline by following these principles. So the next is, once you're in the area, once you have the invite, how can you create opportunities for the neighbors to invite you to inspect their roof? And this is going to come from the 4 growth engines, and we'll talk about those a little later on in the videos. But just so you can have an overview, it's direct mail, which you're not going to have to always do. You're welcome to. We like it when you're always doing the direct mail in the areas that you're working, but it might just be something that you want to save for opportunity areas. And if you're an owner, then provide this opportunity for your salespeople. And if you're a salesperson, know that your owner is, if they're following the process, a lot of the time they will be using this as an option. So just talk to them about it. Rapid canvassing. This is key. This is among the most important places. This is when you can get the closest to the homeowner and allow them to invite you into their home or onto their roof. So the rapid canvassing is key. And no, it's not the traditional door knocking. It's not something that you've probably done before. And it's not just like it's not just the 6-pack of just knocking the doors immediately around. Obviously, there's components of everything I just said that it is, but it's bigger than that. And it's a very particular way of communicating. Further than that, there's other communication strategies that can be done with the neighbors, but also with the homeowner that you're working with to maybe increase the likelihood that you can get your name and number in front of the homeowners. And then there's social media. We want to be posting before and afters. We want to be posting reviews. We want to be getting testimonials if we can, and promote those. And a great place to promote them is, if you are going to put some money behind it, then just do a mile around the job. And once again, if you're a salesperson, talk to your superior about it, because they should know this is a part of what we're trying to do. The other place that you can promote, and you have to be a little more careful about it, is trying to get into the neighborhood groups. So that would be a free way of getting your info out there. And it wouldn't be, hey, come check out my roof. It would be, so grateful for the opportunity to work in this neighborhood. Y'all all rock. Here's a review. That's not soliciting. You just have to be really careful and particular. And you as the salesman can do that. In fact, it may be better received from you than the owner. So create opportunities to get you to inspect their roof. The neighborhood marketing efforts are designed to really just create nudges to the neighbors and as many opportunities for just a quick conversation that will hopefully lead to them requesting an inspection. We want to give them cues that they need an inspection, or they could use an inspection, or hey, if your neighbor needs an inspection, you're likely to. We want to give them as much of a heads up, and we want to create as many interactions as we can with them within reason, so that there's plenty of opportunity for them to say, hey, can you check my roof out? And we need to trust the process here. It's really hard not to just go for the kill. And sometimes it will work. And maybe there will be a time where it makes sense just to be like, hey, by the way, do you want me to check your roof out? But in general, this will require restraint. This will require really trusting that they're able to make the best decision for them. And trusting that they'll recognize, if you do the right things, that you and your company are the best decision for them. So this is really just creating nudges and reminders that a roof's being done, and yours definitely may need to be done too. That will be more of the marketing material and some of the things that are less, they are not the conversations, just things. Then creating quick conversations, which is back and forth. Hey, I'm over here. Just want to let you know. Hey, if our cars are in the way, I want just let me know. Hey, I'm going to be here a lot. Hey, we're going to have a drone in the air to take some pictures of the roof. I just want to make sure that you know, because if you're out in your backyard or something, you see a drone, I just don't want you to be freaked out. And then ideally, if you can create enough of those little mini dialogues, then they will reach out to you to schedule an inspection, because they know that if 123 Main Street is getting their roof inspected, there's a decent chance that their neighbor needs their roof, that they as the neighbor need their roof inspected. If there's hail damage on 123 Main Street, 124 Main Street probably also has hail damage. They probably didn't dodge it. So we need to just be really aware that these are very common. People know and understand these things just inherently. So we have to be careful about patronizing them. We need to just let them make the decision on their own and trust that the right touch points will do that. It's not asking for business over and over again. So I kind of covered that, but this slide, just direct. It is not just finding as many different ways to tell them, hey, we're here. Can I inspect your roof? Can I inspect your roof? Can I inspect your roof? Because then if you ask them once and they say no, and then you ask them again, that is really an uncomfortable situation. You're going to go into that stereotype. Instead, you want to create conversations to where they're wondering, why is he not asking me to inspect the roof? That's a better situation. Our marketing material, which will have door hangers and flyers and different things, that will be more direct, though still pretty soft. But we want to come off as if we're solely there to inform, not sell. And I just gave some examples, but we're going to have a drone in the air. We're going to have a few cars out. Hey, this is a messy thing. Hey, I know that you have, I noticed that you had a dog in the window. Are they okay with like fireworks? Because the nail guns are going to be pretty loud. If they get really nervous, if that's common for them, it's going to be a nuisance. Let us know, and we can maybe find a kennel to put them up in on your behalf. To where there's like, holy crap, their customer service extends to their people who aren't even their customer. And they'll probably say no, by the way. But if they don't, then that's a huge opportunity to just impress and wow them. So these are little touches where we need to inform them of what's going on, inform them of our presence, let them know, hey, this is how you reach out to me if there's anything wrong, but not to sell them, to trust that they can make the decision on their own. The final one is creating opportunities for your clients' networks to invite you to inspect their roof. So this is referrals, right? This is a fancier way of saying referrals, but it's going to come down to how you present it and how you ask for them. I will cover this once again a lot more clearly, and I think there's a whole section on it, but we need to have a formalized referral program. And once again, if it should be within weeks that a formalized referral program is established, if you're in this program. So if you're more than a week and a half or 2 weeks in, then it's probably done. You need to have a humble demeanor. And when I say that, I mean, it needs to be the biggest favor that you've ever asked. Hey, we get almost all of our business from referrals. It's such an important part about how we grow. Would you be willing to give us a referral if it ever came up? Yeah, I mean, if it came up, awesome. Thanks so much. I have a huge favor to ask you. It's okay if you say no, but it would be incredibly helpful, and I'll actually make sure that we're able to compensate you for it as well if you're willing. They're like, what's the favor? Thinking it's going to be some big deal. And you say, can you just post about your experience with us in like your neighborhood Facebook group or something? They're like, oh, that's it? Yeah. It needs to be an organized and intentional way. So this is where you kind of become a little bit of a sociopath, just to be honest. This is where we are creating a very intentional conversation to where we're walking them through a journey. Basically, we're selling them on the referral program or on taking actions on your behalf to generate referrals. And we want to incentivize that action, by the way. But that incentivizing will mostly be goodwill and feeling like they're being helpful, because that's a really big driver for most people is they want to be helpful. They want to help others. They want to support small businesses. So as long as you are great and they are trust that you would take care of their neighbors, they're going to be more motivated by just being helpful than they would by a $50 check or even a $200, $300 check. So the first big thing when you're asking for the referral needs to be, can you help me? Do me the biggest favor. That's why being humble is so important. And then the second piece of it is really just asking, by the way, we'll actually pay you for it too, just so they know in the back of their head there's some additional good things coming. But that's what we need to remember is it's very important that we're incentivizing them in what really matters, because at the end of the day, as much as if we saw it on the ground, we'd be excited, but $50, $200, $300, it really doesn't change anyone's life. In most cases, it would take 5 or 6 referrals before that money is just exactly what they need. So, and maybe more. I mean, not to say this in some cool way, but you'd have to probably give me $5,000 or $10,000 before I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that I just got this. This is gonna really help my finances, or I can put this into savings. What a great opportunity. If you're saying, here's $500, I'm happy to get $500. Don't get me wrong, but it's not necessarily going to get me, I'm not going to go do a whole lot of work for $500. And I'd do a whole lot of work for $500 times 10. But if that required a ton of work, if it was like a very linear ratio, like we've talked about before, I probably wouldn't be super interested. So we need to remember the money is really not the motivator. It's being helpful. And if we can frame it as if they're just doing us the biggest favor in the world, then we're going to be in better shape. So that's referrals. Once again, each of these we'll cover further in the course, but just as an overview. And then repeat. So get in new neighborhoods, get in front of the neighbors, get referrals. And then get in new neighborhoods, get in front of the neighbors, get referrals, or do it in the same neighborhood with just little different networks and on different blocks. This is it. This is how we can build a pipeline that scales and that is always growing, and where one job or one even appointment is always leading to the next opportunities. This is it, guys. So watch this. You might even want to watch it again, but on this next video, we're going to talk about how this creates a compounding effect and really a little bit more details of what that means. So this is how to get invited, and once you're invited, what to do and how to really think about what we're even looking to accomplish together. Thanks. See ya.